Make sure you don't forget to check out and buy my new book, The Construction Worker, based on the life of my grandfather. Just head over to Amazon, the app or the website, switch over the category search to books, and type in The Construction Worker, and you will find it right there on the website. You can get it on Amazon, actual hard physical copy, or you could buy it on Kindle. So pick up a copy today at Amazon or Kindle. And I hope you guys enjoy. And like always, thank you so much for watching this video.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, live from the studio. Go!
You came back. No, it's fine that you came back. I mean, you're supposed to. It's Ghoulish Gallery, right? The audience seems to have gone. Today we have a crazy one for you all to watch. Let's dive in, shall we? On today's Ghoulish Gallery. And here we are. Well, well, well. We are now at the end of this retrospective on Final Destination for Grim-A-Thon. After this, it's followed by a JetpackRetro Halloween special, so stay tuned for that. Yeah, that's right. Jetpack Retro is back this Halloween. And it's a pretty crazy one. You'll enjoy it. But anyways, here we are. The final destination movie that ended off the series for the time speaking, and for now, which is Final Destination Bloodlines. This movie came out recently, as of making this, and is the most recent and last, as of the time of making this, Final Destination movie. In my opinion, I really do wish it ends here, because this movie really shocked me in how good it was. I was expecting something whatever, or fine, or something nowhere near as, as high up as the other films, but no, it's actually really damn solid. This movie is actually really good, and you should take a watch of it. This film basically is supposed to be a big lore dump, something that gets us excited for the entirety of the entire series. This movie chooses to take itself with the name, obviously, by saying that this is the full cycle film. It's finally over. This movie reveals who it was years ago that started the cycle to begin with, as this time the flashback is from years ago, from back then in the 60s or 70s or something. And this one's about a grandmother who years ago had the same vision happen to her, saved a lot of people from a massive skyscraper incident from killing many, which caused the cycle to start with many, many people she saved that day. And now it's her family years later having to deal with it, thanks to the grandmother being able to keep herself alive, and death for some reason needed to follow the formula, even though we'll get into that later because that's a bit of a problem. They now, with her death, have to finally go through it as the cycle goes down. There's a lot of fun twists and turns all over the place, showing what this ends up being in the end, with then, the one thing people wanted from the start, they actually reference and bring up Final Destination 2. Yes, this movie finally makes it canon that, yes, if Final Destination 2 did happen, the girl in Final Destination 2 did survive and she is fine now, showing that her way is genuinely the only way to really solve this. And that made the movie even better in my opinion. The scene which is, the guy who plays the mortician, was also beyond beautiful. Sadly, he passed away after this movie was finished, which is really sad. And this scene feels so much beautiful, more due to that reason. Mostly due to the fact that this scene genuinely feels personal. He gives a speech about how life is a beautiful thing. Enjoy it while you can. Don't spend it being so afraid. This whole scene genuinely feels like it was his actual goodbye from him personally, to what was happening to him in real life, sadly. This scene's perfect. It gives all the great lore dumping. It even finally explains to us who he was and why he knew about this stuff and what it was to begin with, and is basically the actor's way of giving a heartfelt goodbye before he eventually passed away, sadly. The movie is great. The deaths are also solid. Everyone's gonna love the CAT scan machine death the most, but for me, I think the best death would have to been the garbage truck one, only because, not because of how gruesome it looked, but because of how funny it was. The whole scene is basically the main girl character basically giving a prediction of how the death could happen. They scoff because what she says sounds very dumb. How could the death be that silly? And then we just, far away in the background, see exactly what she said plays out, which really made me laugh. That was a funny one, and also the lawnmower death was also my second favorite because of how much build-up that one had and how all the pieces came together over time. This movie is great, a full cycle that starts the thing, but a few problems I have with the movie. Problem one, so they establish in this film that the death didn't go after the entire bloodline only because the grandma was able to keep herself alive. But that doesn't make sense, because we already established in all the other movies that death works in a cycle. If one person avoids death, then death just goes, okay, skips them for the next person in that, cycle, that family. And then it keeps going and going and going until it finally kills you. Like, if it couldn't have killed the grandmother, it would then jump towards her kid, and then jump towards anybody else. Death works in a cycle where it just keeps bouncing between all the people on its list until finally finds a way to put you out. If it can't kill you, it'll just come back for you another time. Yeah, they try to add in some hint here that because of how many people she ended up saving, that it was a really damn long cycle for death to bounce around until it finally got back to her. But either way, it still establishes that her living is why it never went down to the family. It just doesn't make sense, because if it couldn't kill her, it would have jumped immediately towards her family after. So that one doesn't make much sense. But besides that, it's fine. It's a good movie, pretty solid, and I really loved it. In my opinion, it is a perfect finale to this saga that should finally be put to rest. With the mortician finally gone, and all the pieces finally cleared up and everything finally explained, it seems there's nothing more you can go with this series. They might later on, who knows? I mean, money talks, right? But I really think the series should just end here. And that is the end of the Final Destination retrospective. If you want to know where I'd rank these movies, well, first place is Final Destination 2. I think that deserves a slot. It's really well done and just has so much well done story behind it. How could it not be? Second place is Final Destination 5. I still love Final Destination 5, and that will always be high up there for me. When putting this ranking together, I genuinely had 5 at first place for a long while until finally, after rewatching all of them, realized 2 had more merit. Third place is Bloodlines. I really loved Bloodlines. Bloodlines was close to beating 5, but for the reasons I mentioned before about some pieces not adding up and some things just don't make sense, that's why it still is beaten by Final Destination 5. Final Destination 5 still makes sense out of all of them. And then below that is Final Destination 3. Once again, a movie that used to be my number 1 favorite, for years growing up, until with time I started to give the other movies more merit and more thought. And then after Final Destination 3 is Final Destination 1. Yeah, if it weren't for the fact that Final Destination 4 is such a horrible piece of shit, Final Destination 1 would probably be last place, but it's right before that. Final Destination 1 is a good movie and did start this off for us, but like I mentioned earlier in this Ghoulish Gallery, it's very cheesy and has a lot of typical 90210 teen drama stuff going on. For its cheesiness and all that stuff more, that's why it gets that spot. The only reason why it's not dead last is because, lo and behold, the grand piece of shit Final Destination 4. Final Destination 4 is a grand piece of shit. No thought behind it, no trying, no merit, and if you need that and more, that's dead last. So there's the ranking for this Final Destination retrospective. Now join me next in the JetpackRetro Halloween special.